Hey guys, I got my Nintendo Switch 2, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing so you can see what's in the box, and also comparing it to its predecessor, the original Nintendo Switch. Stay tuned for more. Alright guys, here we go. We're going to take a look at this and see what's in the box. We're going to start out today by opening up the Nintendo Switch 2, and we'll just jump right in. And the reason I'm not going to string you along is because, you know what? It's launch day, and you're just curious about what's in here anyway. So, again, as usual, sorry for the mess on the desk. Most of my focus is usually set to my customers here, but occasionally we do an unboxing, and this is one of those situations. Okay, so we've got the Nintendo Switch 2 console. Just purchased it, stood in line for, oh gosh, 4 hours. I got up at 3 a.m. and stood in line and waited, and wound up getting a voucher, so got pretty lucky. We're also going to do today a quick comparison to just the original Nintendo Switch, and we'll also see if there's anything that we can do to, if I can help you anyway with the transfer process of transferring your data from the old Switch to the new Switch, that kind of thing. Immediately, I noticed that this is much larger. As far as thickness goes, it actually feels about the same, but we're just going to go ahead and pull this out of the bag here real quick. So, and for those of you who are curious where I got my Switch, I actually got it at Target. So, not the original place I wanted to purchase my Switch, but, you know, such is life. You don't always get everything you want, or the way you want it anyway. Anyway, this is the Switch 2 itself, and there's not much to it just looking at it from the outside. I mean, it's definitely hefty and much larger than the original Switch. There is, as you can see on the bottom, a USB-C port here, and you've got some speakers down here, and not really much else to be seen. There is a little kickstand on the back that actually flips out, which is kind of different in comparison to the original Switch, where it depended on the Switch that you had, if you had the OLED or if you had the original, which mine is the original. But for mine, you just had a little kickstand like this that pops out. So that's that. So this is pretty nice. I like the profile of it. It does feel a little flimsy, and the mechanism is actually a little tight. So I can foresee people breaking this kickstand at its hinge point if they actually use it that way. Me, I primarily use it docked, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Along the top here, and this is kind of hard for me to see because my camera keeps turning this thing off, but we've got our power, our volume down, volume up. We've got a little nub here, but then you can actually see that this is where the ventilation is here at the top. And then we've got our second USB-C port, which is new to the Nintendo Switch 2. And then our game card slot, which is the same as on the original Nintendo Switch. Aside from the game card slot, I think it's just, yeah, it's a little bit more robust than the original plastic flap that you got on the Nintendo Switch, because it's kind of metal lined there, as you can see where my finger is. I'll pop that back in. It does go in a lot more smooth. So we'll set the original Switch, the Switch 2 aside here, and we'll break out what you guys are probably most curious about, which is these Joy-Cons. So the Switch has a new Joy-Con mechanism, if you haven't already done your research and know this already, where the new Joy-Con mechanism is actually magnetic. So we've got, if you look at the Joy-Con here, you can see that there is, you know, you still have your standard, and that feels about the same as the original Switch. You still have your standard, sorry, I'm working on very few hours of sleep here. You still have your standard joystick, and then your directional buttons, and then you've got your screenshot button. The nicer thing about this now, though, is that your buttons here, your SR and SL buttons, are actually much larger than they were on the original Joy-Con. And I'll just show you that in comparison. So if you look at the original Switch, you can see that those buttons are very small in comparison to the new Switch 2. And I would say that in terms of size of the Joy-Con, the difference, I'd say they're probably about 30% bigger than the original Joy-Con. So anyway, this is the original Joy-Con that came with my original Nintendo Switch. So put that back on there and knock my Switch over. But yeah, the way that they clip into your Switch 2 is via, they're color coded, so it's easy to not mess that up. But then the way that they actually clip in is if you turn the Switch the right way, right side up, and you just kind of clicks in like so. Really easy. And on the back there's a little button here, and it's right by your trigger, or your ZL and ZR buttons. But on the back here, you just pull this little switch and she pops away. So pretty simple, pretty simple. Sorry I keep messing with the camera here. It's just that I need to make sure you guys are getting the best angle on this. So there we go. And then the screen doesn't stay on, it turns itself off automatically, which is a feature of this camera I'm still getting used to. So yeah, to put both of your Joy-Cons in, it's as simple as just holding it to the side of the Switch and it snaps itself right into place. And you know, you can't pull it off or anything like that, but it feels really good and solid. Again, this console is probably about, oh gosh, if you actually compare the size difference, again, probably about 30% larger than the original Switch. So it's not terrible. It actually feels really hefty. I would recommend a good case for it though, because the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So taking this original Switch and setting it aside for now, let's take a look at what's in the rest of the box here. So in the rest of the box, so we've got our cardboard sitting on top here. I got the Mario Kart bundle. Now the reason I got the Mario Kart bundle is because if you get the Mario Kart bundle at launch, Mario Kart only costs you $50. The Switch itself is, I believe, $449 if you get the regular Switch. That's US dollars if you're watching from overseas. And then if you get the Mario Kart bundle, it's for $500, basically $499. And so the way that works is they toss a game in there. It's just a digital code, you know, this guy right here, and then you end up getting Mario Kart World with it. The prices for these Switch games are going up, so it's important to note that if you want to buy the new Switch 2 without Mario, random SATA cable, without Mario Kart, you're going to pay a little less for the console itself, but you will end up paying $80 for that game. So we have our health and safety information and usage guidelines here. So pretty typical. And then what do you get in the package here? So we also get an HDMI cable, and this is Ultra Certified cable, HDMI Ultra High Speed. I won't be using that just because I use my own HDMI cables for my theater room, but nice to have another HDMI cable. And then of course you've got your Joy-Con covers for when you actually like undock the, when you're playing it in mobile mode. You've got your wrist straps and your Joy-Con, the things that snap into your Joy-Cons. I don't even know what the proper name for them is, but I use them as frequently as I can when I play my Switch off the dock and I'm not using a Pro controller. So next up is probably the dock that's under here. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this big chunk of cardboard out and we'll kind of go from there. So I actually didn't think that this came with it. I was sort of ill-informed on what was inside the box, but they were selling them separately at Target, so I did end up buying a second Joy-Con 2 charging grip. But actually, you know what? I think this charges, yeah, this has a battery in it, so I'll get to that later. But anyway, this is the Joy-Con grip that your Joy-Cons will snap into. Again, I think it's pretty much a similar process there as far as how they actually snap in. Let me scooch this stuff here aside, and I'll try to demonstrate some of this for you guys, just so that you can see this firsthand. And I am getting my Switch a little greasy. I expected that. unfortunately. All right, here we go. And let's see if that snaps in as easily. Yeah, it's just as easy. And we'll push the release mechanism on the back, pull that out, and it snaps nice and easy. So this actually feels a little nicer than the original Joy-Con setup when you have the Joy-Con remote here that it snaps into, and you can see the difference here when you've actually got this remote held up, that there's that extra C button for camera if you guys want to use that. So again, I think there's a release mechanism on this. I think the release mechanism itself is on the Joy-Con, so you push the release mechanism on the Joy-Con and then it releases it from the controller. So I'm pretty sure this doesn't have a battery in it or anything like that. This is just a plastic thing that's your signal gets sent through, and it works nice. It feels nice. So again, we're going back to handheld mode here. We're going to snap the Joy-Cons back into the Switch, and we're going to let it sit here for a minute. All right, so getting back to the box here, we've got our USB-C cable. I'm guessing this is primarily just for, sorry, give me 1 second. Let me get this out of here. This is for charging. Okay, so we got a USB-C cable for charging. And then, unlike most other suppliers of charging cables, you actually get a brick with it, which thank goodness, because I'm so sick of getting cables but not getting a brick. So props to Nintendo for actually including a charging brick. That's a pretty low bar to meet, but I mean, we all want to make sure we're charging stuff at the right voltage. So and it's stupid to have to look it up. It should just come with a brick. But anyway, I digress. This is a USB-C charger. It looks like it's pretty light. The brick is pretty hefty, but again, you can charge through either the top port, the top USB-C port, which is off to the right a little bit, right next to your headphone jack and game card slot, or you can charge through the bottom port, depending on what your preference is. So if you're playing it, my guess is you're going to be charging through the top port, just because it's going to be saving you a little bit of issue if you want to hold the console a little closer to you. So set the charge cord aside here. Now we also have the dock that comes with it, and of course the USB-C charging cable does power the dock. And one thing that, if you're new and you haven't done much research on this dock, is that this dock actually has a fan built into it, which is really nice. It helps with the cooling and everything like that, but this whole back panel just pops off here, and then you can see you've actually got a spot for Ethernet on this right here, where it has a LAN connection, which I actually think that's new to this dock, because you used to have to use USB to hardwire your original Switch, because I used it was an Ethernet to USB adapter and then plugged it in, and it's just bulky and adds more crap to it. So the fact that this actually has a LAN connection now is choice. HDMI out, and then your AC adapter, which is just your USB-C. So that's all there is to that. This dock is way more hefty, feels a lot more sturdy, and let's just see how the Switch 2 fits into it. See if it's a fairly easy docking process versus the original Switch. And yeah, that's much better. It goes right in, and it actually feels like it holds it quite well. There's obviously wobble there, but it's nothing too crazy. So highly recommend this Switch 2 so far, based on just what I've seen. Everything feels like the original Switch, just higher quality. So I get why it was a little more expensive. It seems like Nintendo really put some effort and love into putting this console together. So anyway, I'll put that back cover back on as long as I can. It looks like it's back on there, so we'll go ahead and pull the Switch back out of there. And next step, kind of what I wanted to do is go over some, not really comparisons between the original Switch and the Switch 2, but realistically, when you get it home, you're going to want to set this thing up and you're going to want to use it, right? So how do you do that? How do you get the Switch 2 data or how do you get the Switch data onto your Switch 2? Is it going to be easy? There is a day one patch, so let's kind of go over some of that. And then I'll kind of I won't go over setup probably in this video for where I'm putting it in my house and things like that, just because its permanent location is not in this room. and I have to do another setup for that. So today's more of just an unboxing and then trying to get data transferred from my original Switch, which is fully charged, over to the new Switch 2. So we're going to start by powering on the Switch 2 here. And then I am actually going to switch your guys' view. So one moment. Okay guys, the one aspect of this I did forget to share with you and that I'm going to share right now is the charging grip, or the charging, yeah, I guess that's what it's called, the charging grip. So essentially all this does is, I don't even think it has a battery pack built into it. All it does is it's the same thing as your regular Nintendo Switch 2 charging grip. It just has, or your Nintendo Switch 2 grip, it just has a charge port so that you can charge your Joy-Cons while you're playing. Again, there's the regular one right on top of it. So you've got the charging grip and then the regular grip. So kind of nice. I don't know if it's worth the extra $30, because most people will probably just end up mounting the, or keeping the Joy-Cons attached to the console and using their Pro controller anyway. But I just wanted to show you that it clicks in just the exact same way. Only difference really is that this is not color coded, whereas the one that comes with the Switch is color coded, so it's a little easier to tell what Joy-Con goes where. But I mean, you're gonna figure that out anyway. Right goes on right, left goes on left, so not a huge deal. Anyway, that's actually it. All right, here we go guys. So doing a first person view here. Hopefully the camera focuses well and you can actually see. I'm gonna turn the lights down in here a little bit so you can actually see what's going on the screen. Hey Google, set the office lights to 50%. That way we have just a little bit less glare and a little more on the screen.
7 lights to 50%.
Thanks. Okay, so scroll down to where it says English US, because that's my region. We'll press A. We're gonna say the Americas. And there is a user agreement. Now, a couple things to note here. If you accept this user agreement, you basically are saying that Nintendo owns this piece of equipment and they can disable it at any time. You're also saying that the digital games that you have on here, you don't actually own. There's simply licenses and things like that that you have access to. If you want to read the full agreement, feel free. I'm going to accept and just move on here. All right, now we're gonna go to internet settings and I'm gonna plug in my Wi-Fi information here. All right, so connection was successful. We're connected up to the internet now. We'll say please wait. And about to download update data, which is just fine. Like I said, we do have that day 1 patch that we're trying to get downloaded today. So what we need to find now is just my time zone here, which I believe I'm just minus 0600 here in Central Time. So we'll pick Denver. Next, it's just kind of giving you a little overview of it. You can now connect the AC adapter to the top of the system. Hold the release button, pull to the side, which is fine. I already know all this. It's going to take you through the tutorial anyway, right? There you go, I did it. So select next with the controller you removed. I don't want to do this. Why do we have to do this? Do you want to connect to a TV and play on a larger screen? I'll say later. View attachment guide. We'll skip that just because we already kind of know how these attachments and things work, so we don't really need to. It's kind of telling you a little bit about the style that you can change at any time, which is a typical Switch feature. We already know all that because it's the Switch. That's the whole entire premise behind the Switch, is that it can be handheld and it can be a full-fledged gaming system, right? So 1 minute left of installation. I'm actually gonna put the controllers back in because I don't need that silliness. System is updating and it's gonna restart. System update complete. Takes almost no time to do system updates. Okay, so now it says you can transfer data from your Nintendo Switch to this Nintendo Switch 2. So I'm gonna do that actually. While I have you guys here, I'm gonna do that. We'll see how this actually plays out and we'll kind of go from there. So let's say start system transfer. If you have a microSD express memory card, insert it. We'll just say skip. I didn't buy one of those just because right now they're very expensive. It's $199 for a 1 terabyte. Oh yeah, I do need to sign into my Nintendo account, so I'm gonna take care of that really quick. Alright, so we are signed in. If you guys want to add me on Nintendo, feel free. You can see my tag here, which is JuiceBox91. I'm happy to play some games with you. I'm also really excited. One of the other things that comes with this is you get the GameCube. If you've got Nintendo Switch Online, you get the GameCube library as well. So what it's asking for now is move this system, the source system, close together to transfer the data. So I'm going to turn on my original Switch here. I'm going to place that right next to it. And let's see here. I'm going to make this more central so you guys can see it. We'll say next. Connect AC adapter to start downloading data. Ready to start system update. We'll say cancel. All right, so let's attach the power cable here. In 1 second. Now I've heard that this is a mixed bag, that people tried to transfer before launch day and their switches got bricked, but today is launch day, so we should be okay. Alright, so I'm attaching my AC adapter to the top. The system is about as close as it can be. Alright, open the home menu and select System Settings, System, and then System Transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. Alright, so we'll see if that's even an option. This needs a system update, and I'm guessing it has something to do with the Switch 2, so we're going to go ahead and do my software update here for the original Switch. I don't play my original Switch nearly as often as I used to, so it's entirely possible that it's just been sitting for a while and just needs an update. That's one thing I do love about Nintendo, is their updates are super quick. Super quick. Okay, so we'll say start. Alright, so as it told me to do, which I'm going to because I want to do this, press the home button. Home button, maybe? Thought that was the home button. It is. We'll go down to, let's see, System Settings. And then down to System. And not system update, but I'm gonna guess that it's gonna be all the way towards the bottom. There we go. System transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. So we'll say yes on that. And then we'll say next. And then we wait. You'll need to update the system. I just did, but that's fine. System update is available. Of course. Of course. Alright guys, so the original Switch updated successfully. It's doing its restart right now. All right, here we go. We're gonna go back to the settings menu and we're gonna do our update. Not our update, but our transfer. So go over here, scroll all the way down, and it's system transfer to Nintendo Switch 2. Press that, we'll say next, and hopefully some Nintendo Switch games may not be supported or fully compatible. Okay. Make sure your Nintendo Switch 2 system is nearby. Done. You're nearby. Now kiss. Kiss. Yep. Next. Not linked to a Nintendo account. Well, what a bummer. You guys are getting removed. Save data for the following software will be removed from this system and transferred to the Nintendo Switch. So basically my Pokemon games, Minecraft, and it looks like, well, that's it, because I got 4 Pokemon games on here, one of which I really haven't played. So, oh, this needs an AC adapter. Well, I'm just going to use my third-party one. And you know what sucks is that's going to bum me out hard because I can't set them up right because the old Switch doesn't have a spot for the AC adapter on the top. So what we're going to have to do is lay the console down for this whole process. So here we go. Make sure that this still looks okay. I have the adapter connected and it's plugged in, so I don't know why we're getting a little huffy about things. You want the original Nintendo AC adapter? Because that's just not going to happen for this. Next. Cancel. Seriously? Okay, Nintendo. What the actual heck? I have a charge cord that charges the Switch just fine. In fact, I think it provides more than enough voltage for this to take place. But you guys are being stupid and saying that I need the original AC adapter for it. So now I have to go out to my setup, pull that off the existing Switch dock, and plug it in here. Bear with me, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, this is what's crazy. So I plugged in the original Switch adapter, which I don't know about most of you, but for me, my system actually has the adapter plugged into the dock at all times because I didn't bother to buy a second power cord. Well, I did, but I don't know where it is at the moment. So I ended up having to pull this off of my theater room setup, which is, you know, obviously not built to be taken apart every day, but I guess I'm going to anyway as a part of the Switch 2 being added as a new system. So I'll just start the download. But immediately once I plugged in the original Nintendo adapter, which it's really important to note that original Nintendo adapter is what's needed in your original Switch in order to actually get this download going. So we'll see what this process looks like here and how long it's actually going to take to download my data. There is quite a bit for this system transfer, so I don't anticipate that it's going to be a short process by any means, so this might be more of a segmented data download. And I'll just kind of give you an update as to what the time looks like at the end. Just because I don't want to keep you guys here while the whole thing downloads. And this camera battery, it doesn't last forever. So right now we're at 6%. We'll check back in a bit. Alright guys, so I'm coming back to you here after about 5 minutes and we are at 98%. So this is very efficient, I would say, in doing what it's supposed to do. I don't know exactly how it works. I think it's just all over Wi-Fi, but you probably will benefit from having your Switches hooked up to your 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi network, if nothing else, just because of transfer speeds on that network. A regular 2.4 gigahertz network might not have the same performance as this. Like I said, 5 minutes, that's all that I've had it hooked up for, and we're at 99% right now. So it does say 2 minutes left, so oh, there we go. System is about to restart, and I got one of my beard hairs on my Switch already. On my new Switch. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Downloading data, 1 minute left. Keep the systems near each other. Data has been sent. Okay. Alright, so my original Switch is technically done, and now it's setting up the system for the Nintendo Switch 2. And that's going pretty quickly. System transfer complete. Okay. The theme color source from the source system will be carried over, which is just a dark theme. Let's go to home, press the home button. Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, here we go, guys. It's getting real now. We're gonna move the original Switch aside. And there's my games. And actually, I'll pull it back up. You can kind of see that's shot for shot the same exact setup there. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash, Stardew Valley, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Fire Emblems on there. It's looking good. So that's it. My next phase of all of this here is kind of going through what's available on the new Switch. So come down here, you got Nintendo Switch Online, Game Chat, News, Shop, Album, Game Share, which that's new for Nintendo Switch 2. You got your controllers, which I love that there's a dedicated, I guess that was always there on the original Switch 2. Well, it wasn't always there front and center, because you used to have to go to settings for that, but that must have been included in a more recent update. And then you've got your virtual game cards and system settings in a sleep mode. So let's see, that says virtual game cards too. Interesting. Whose virtual game cards do you want to see? My own? Interesting. So everything that you've downloaded virtually now shows on as a virtual game card on here. Except I do have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on a cartridge, so I don't know why it's showing as a virtual. So, okay. So what it's doing now is, looks like it's just updating the games that needed to be updated when I originally switched this over. You can see I got Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Looking forward to trying out Mario Kart World, and I'll definitely be getting you guys kind of an in-depth look at this to see what exactly it's like. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This has been the unboxing and transfer of data to the new Nintendo Switch 2. Look for more to come, because I'm really excited about this system. If you liked this content, be sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe below. And if you like this video, you might also end up liking the video about where I bought a fake JBL speaker. So go check that video out. Have a good one, guys.